Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to all the speakers. I took notes of just a few things. It's kind of like 30,000 feet. I know this is our first hearing, but I wanted to have some comments for Secretary Crowfoot first. And I listened to your 6 priorities on, and one of the ones I really focused in on was the natural-based solutions. And as you're well aware, we've had, these mega fires, and we see the climate changing. We have these events where atmospheric rivers, fire, and the likes. And so I wanted to touch a little bit on the natural-based solutions, which is the biggest carbon sink that we have is actually the forest in California. We don't count wildfires in our emissions. And that's a bill I actually ran a couple of years ago, which wasn't passed, to actually count that into our emission standards. We focus a lot on ZEVs and other forms of pollution, but we don't talk about the forest. And so I wanted to ask the Secretary, the direct question is that we've done a lot in the area that we actually control, which is private lands in California. I've ran many bills in trying to streamline the process so that we can actually do fuel reductions on those lands. And we've been very successful at actually allowing foresters to go in and actually do the work that we need to do. And we've also spent a huge amount of resources on those private lands, doing conservation easements, working with the conservancies to get the job done. But the question is what is our relationship with the federal government, who has over 60% of the land base in California that is burning? We had the Dixie Fire in my district. My staff just showed me we had 4.2 million acres burned. And if we don't address our partners at the federal level to get a handle on the natural-based solution that we have, which is the forest out there, I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot to not push them to actually do the kind of work we're doing on the private land in California, on the federal land in California. So could you address that relationship and what you see for the future of the partnership with the federal government?
Thank you, Senator Dahle.
Absolutely, Senator. I would first acknowledge, one of your early points, which is the damage of these catastrophic wildfires, not only to communities, but the emissions are, hugely impactful to public health. A lot of our kids have grown up with, masks in the summer as almost something to be expected. But also carbon emissions. At the end of the day, these catastrophic wildfires emit remarkable amounts of carbon emissions. So getting the catastrophic wildfire crisis into control is a matter of public safety. It's a matter of public health, but it's also a matter of climate action. So we need to expand forest management and landscape management, period, full stop. And we need to do that in state responsibility area, on private lands, and as you point out, on those lands that are owned and managed by the federal government. And we've been pushing in recent years, and I think it's been a good partnership between yourself and legislators and the governor's office for more federal leadership. First of all, more federal funding. There hasn't been enough funding into California, into the U.S. Forest Service to manage those lands. And there hasn't been historically an aggressive approach toward that end. I'm glad to report that the focus is stronger than I've ever seen it by the federal government. You know that Randy Moore, who was our regional forester in California, is now head of the U.S. Forest Service, and he's driving hundreds of millions of dollars into the West and into California. So we're seeing the same sort of quantum leap of increased investment on the federal side as we've achieved on the state side. We're also working to make it easier to get these projects done. Simply put, the approval and the permitting environment's been too complicated and moving too slow to get these projects on the ground. So we have a remarkable partner in the current regional forester, Jennifer Eberline. We talk with her, weekly, if not in some cases daily during fire season. And we're aligned on this wildfire task force. Because my last point is that action plan and that task force. There are 2 chairs of that task force, myself and the regional forester, Jennifer Eberline, because we need to have the Forest Service and the state working hand in glove. So I'm with you on the need for the federal government to step up. I think that they are, and we're going to all need to continue to step up more to address the crisis.
Thank you for that answer. I look forward to the administration pushing hard. And also, I know there's an infrastructure issue as well. We'll save that for another day. I have just two quick questions. Just a comment to Secretary Ross. The budget is proposed to reduce the sweeps program, which is hugely effective and very a great program, by $40 million. I will be pushing that we don't do that. I think that we need to fund that program. It's working. The returns are great, and I think that we should completely, fully fund that. So I just wanted to put that out as something that I'll be talking about for sure in your department. And then I wanted to go to Secretary Garcia, which I have not met yet. Nice to meet you through video conference. Wanted to just again come back to the amount of resources we are focused on ZEBs. And if you look at the budget proposal, it is across the board. It's getting reduced some, but that's where our biggest focus is. And at the end of the day, I sit on the Energy Committee, Vice Chair's Energy Committee. I'm on EQ, and I'm on Natural Resources. And we've been having the secretaries come in from CARB and from CPUC. And at the end of the day, our infrastructure is not in place to be able to even power up the grid. And we're talking about moving away from natural gas and actually electrifying. What would your comments be on how we build the power plants or get the amount of energy that we need to produce, electric energy, in California, and get the transmission to get these ZEVs powered in the near term?
Secretary Garcia, would you like to respond to that? Secretary Garcia still on the line?
I was going to say, if Secretary Garcia might be having technical difficulties, I'm glad to contribute in on this.
Great. Go ahead, Secretary Crowfoot.
So, Senator, we agree that we need to move further and faster than we have in the past to build out the energy infrastructure that we need for the future for a couple of reasons. One is because we continue to grow and we need that infrastructure for the future, and we're working to move to a clean energy grid. And so that means more transmission. That means bringing on projects across the state. I'm really excited with the economic benefit that those will have across the state, but we need to move faster. And so the governor's been very clear with us and across the energy agencies, of which the California Energy Commission is part of our agency, that we have to accelerate the approval process, the prioritization of transmission, of renewable energy generation. He is very focused on maintaining energy reliability and affordability as we make this transition. And so he's getting regular updates, and I know you all through statute are getting regular updates from our agencies around what we're doing to ensure that as these heat waves intensify during the summer, we're able to keep the lights on while we transition. So just know that that's a key priority of ours, and something we look forward to talking to you more about, which is specific actions that we're going to take to accelerate the deployment of that infrastructure.
Just a quick follow-up. I know the governor was at Diablo yesterday, and I know there was a press release that came out from the SACB just a couple hours ago about the continuation of Diablo till I think it's 2030, which is positive for California because we need that energy right now. But the permitting process to build a transmission line, something I worked on as a county supervisor, which was never fruitful, takes years. I mean, not maybe just years, but in several instances, decades, along with building, these wind generations in the ocean. To get that done, we're talking about a long time frame, but we have set goals by 2035 and 2045 that, so I would suggest that the CEC, the CPUC, the EPA all get together and come up with something that you could give back to the legislators on the plan, like how we're actually going to do this, because at the end of the day, you can have all the ZEVs in the world you want. If you can't charge them and you can't get access to charging, or you have the energy available to do it, we're not going to get where we want to go very quick. So that's been something I think that we brought up at every level to try to figure out what is the actual policy and what does it look like and where is it needed. geographically throughout the state. So I would ask that you bring that back to us, because we can set goals, but without a plan, we get nowhere. And the last thing I wanted to touch on is there was a proposal for pump storage at Orville, and I know that's been taken out. That creates megawatts. It's good for the environment, and I will be pushing for that funding to be allocated back into the budget too. So thank you.